Oh my God. We rode the Demonator. It's better than gross.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the ShinDMG YouTube channel. I have but one question for you. Are you tired of me talking about Doom yet? Go ahead, tell me the truth. Guess what? I don't care because this game is amazing. And like last time with my previous review, we have a twist on this video essay/review. That being that my PC can barely handle the Dark Ages, so this is what it's like to play Doom the Dark Ages with an underpowered PC. My thoughts on the gameplay, story, weapons, and more will come later. Yes, believe it or not, this custom-built PC that me and an old friend of mine did is actually underpowered for this game. At the time, we did this with the phrase future-proofing in mind, but the future came and kicked my ass. That being said, I can get this thing running for the most part smoothly. To get the game to work, I pretty much had to turn most settings to their lowest level. That being said, the game still doesn't look bad. It still has frame drops, pop-in, and the occasional glitch. This cutscene here was the worst offender by far. There was also an instance where the boss went out of bounds, and there was just a couple of hiccups here and there. There was plenty of instances where my PC just couldn't handle how much it packed into each encounter, but that's my problem, not theirs. I still really enjoyed the game as a whole regardless. The story is something new but still feels very much like Doom Eternal's. I believe Hugo Martin, the creative lead behind these games, compared this game to the Clone Wars of the Doom universe, and I couldn't agree more. It's the Slayer in his prime. He's not as we know him completely yet. Working under the control of the makers, the Slayer is nothing more than a tool at their disposal, being summoned when the Sentinels need him most, eventually becoming more than just a weapon and breaking free from the maker's control. The Prince of Hell is kinda just there. I wish there was a little more depth to his character. He shows once that he's envious of the power of the Slayer, but that's pretty much about it. He's a power-hungry, jealous little bitch that you have to put in his place. And oh, he must have never watched John Wick. This is only gonna end one way. Ooh. The real villain, in my opinion, is the witch, manipulating the prince to resurrect her god, known as the Old One, which is Cthulhu. I've been a fan of Lovecraftian horror for quite some time now, and was very excited to see this enter the Doom universe. It's a perfect fit and adds so much to the sense of scale, importance, and world building. I hope we see more from this side of things in the DLC because I see a lot of potential here. One of my favorite sequences of the campaign makes the Zombie Slayer canon. You actually die and have to fight your way back to life, clawing your way through lost souls and demons alike. It was really something special. Vera gets kidnapped when the villains realize she has special powers and pretty much contains a god within her, and it's up to you to find her and bring her back alive. I've seen some theories online that she's going to be a protagonist for a Quake revival, and I'd be so on board for that. Connecting Quake and Doom into one narrative would be amazing. The way the story ends leaves the book open, and I feel as if there's a lot more story to be told. Way more than 2 DLCs, so I expect the story to continue in some fashion, whether it be a direct sequel or a spin-off, like the previously mentioned possibility of a Quake reboot. Overall, it was a really enjoyable campaign. I'd rate it just a notch higher than Eternals. Now we move on to the weapons. This game is no disappointment in its variety, but some of the guns left something to be desired. First off, we have the combat shotgun, and while this was a great starting weapon, after the super shotgun is introduced, it's kind of just thrown to the side. I'm gonna mark this at C tier. Next up, the Power Gauntlet. It's just your regular melee, so why even make it a power-up? We put this at garbage tier. The Shredder, aka the Assault Rifle. It's fun to use, but I didn't find myself using it too much utility-wise. I picked it up again to master some challenges. I'm gonna mark this at B tier. The Shield Saw. I don't even need to explain. This is an S tier weapon. The Accelerator, one of the plasma rifles in the game, and this one out of the 2 was a little underwhelming. I'm gonna put this at C tier. The Pulverizer, one of the most iconic weapons of Doom the Dark Ages. It can mow down fodder enemies like nothing, but towards boss battles and bigger enemies, it's not too useful, but it is a great piece of the game, so I'm gonna put this at A tier. The Impaler. This is a cool novelty weapon and truly just feels like a torture device and just meant for you to have fun with. Utility-wise, I don't really see too much use out of it, so I'm gonna put that at B tier. The Cycler. This is the better of the two plasma rifles. It feels really overpowered and it's really fun to use. I'm gonna put it at S tier. The Super Shotgun. It can one-shot a Hell Knight. It's S tier. The Flail. This is a really fun addition to Doom's arsenal. Super fun to swing around and satisfying to get those execution kills. Put it at A tier. The Chain Shot. Once fully upgraded, it does just about as much damage as the Super Shotgun, so I'm gonna put this at A tier. The Grenade Launcher. I never used it. Put it at garbage. The Rocket Launcher. This is an S tier weapon, especially when fully upgraded, and a perfect parry negates all damage. The Ravager. I don't know why we needed two different skull grinding weapons. One shoots horizontally, which is great for fodder, and then one shoots vertically, which is great for pretty much nothing. Garbage. The Dread Mace. A one-hit kill for a lot of enemies, a heavy, powerful swing and very satisfying to use. We're gonna put this at S tier. The BFC. Now this is a very confusing one for me because while it's amazing, the way they designed it, assigning it to a specific button, I often forget that it's even in my arsenal. So we're gonna put it at A tier. The gameplay. The Dark Ages is not a simple sequel to Eternal. Each Doom game has stood on its own, reinventing itself each time, and this entry is no different. We still have the resource management. Each weapon serves a purpose and deals with certain enemies better than others. Glory kills are gone in a sense, but they're still here, and they really pack a punch. Save for the leader enemies and certain titans when you're riding the dragon. Most of the time you violently rip the heart out of your enemies and crush it while they watch. For basic enemy-to-enemy combat, the blood punch and glory kills are replaced for what I would call a finishing move. The shield takes the place of Eternal's Super Shotgun, allowing you to lock on and fly across the map. You can use it as a way to chop down fodder enemies and stun larger prey as well. When I think of the Dark Ages, my first thought is that shield, and it's so much fun. There's also a little fun mechanic that when you fall from great heights, you vaporize anyone that's in an immediate vicinity of where you land. One of my favorite features is the destructible environments, so when you're slaying demons, you can unleash your inner Tommy Wiseau. Also, a quick note, the collectible figures are back and better than ever. These new designs look great, and I hope someone makes a full line of these figures like they did with Eternal. Moving on to some of the game's new gimmicks. We have the dragon and the mech. I saw one of the dragon missions being compared to taking down a scarab in Halo 3 and I couldn't agree more. You take out the turrets, then board these ships, and then take them out from the inside. That's something I really enjoy about the campaign, and it really feels like an early 2000s action shooter, but it's still distinctly Doom. The Atlan mech sections are incredibly fun. The game lead Hugo Martin worked with Guillermo del Toro, designing the Jaegers for Pacific Rim, and it shows. These mechs have been teased for years back in Eternal, and we get to finally hop inside one and take on some giant demons. Yes, at one point, you punch Cthulhu in the face. God, I love this game. This part of it in particular makes my inner Godzilla fanboy very happy. Most of the combat is hand-to-hand, but it's spiced up occasionally with a chain gun and a jumbo shotgun thing. These, in my opinion, are a welcome addition to the game. The Dark Ages introduces some new enemies and reinvigorates other designs. So let's get right into our second tier list. We start off with the Imp Stalker, one of the first enemies you run into the game. It's a great redesign of the classic Imp from the original Doom, and it's super fun to encounter. I'm gonna put this at A tier. The plain old Imp, looking a lot like its Doom Eternal design. It really doesn't change too much about it, but doesn't have to. But I'm confused of why it's here in the first place when we have other fodder demons and another Imp as well. So I'm gonna put this at C tier. Zombies. I feel like these were kind of lazy. They just completely reused the design from Doom Eternal when mostly every other demon gets some sort of facelift in this game. Put it at garbage. The Soldier. I think it's a very good medieval Gears of War kind of looking design for the Soldier in this game, but they didn't really stand out in any kind of way, so I'm gonna put it at C tier. Next we have the Pinky Rider, and I think it's a great redesign and is truly a very unique fighting experience running into it. I just kind of wish it was a little more challenging to fight, so let's put it at B tier. The Shield Soldier. Now these are very fun mechanically. You overcharge that shield and then you throw your shield at it to pop it, damaging all the enemies around it, and it does a lot of damage. It's really fun to fight. I mark it at A tier. The Mancubus. Not much has changed about this one, and it's not really anything special.
but it is still fun to fight, so I'm gonna mark it at B tier. The Nightmare Imp Stalker. This one is a real shocker for me, but it actually caught me off guard and gave me a jump scare once in a while. And it's still mechanically the same as the regular Imp Stalker, but there's a little bit more depth to it. Therefore, it gets moved up to S tier. The Stone Imp. It was a great addition to Doom Eternal, and I'm glad to see it come back. It doesn't quite functionally work the same as in Eternal, but I love to see it back. Toned down a little bit too. Would have been higher for me in Eternal, but I'm gonna mark it at B tier. The Hell Knight. A classic enemy. It's keeping its look from 2016 in Eternal, but with some more detail to it. I love the way it looks. There's a version of it I like even better, so this one's gonna go at B tier. The Titan. It is so cool that you get to fight these in this game and you get to get in your mech and punch them straight in the face. I'm gonna put this at A tier. The Cyclops Titan. I don't really have too much to add to it from the previous one, so we're gonna mark that at A tier as well. Lost Souls. This is the best that they've ever been implemented in a Doom game. Again, it actually got a jump scare out of me almost every time I ran into him. S tier. Chain Gunner Soldier. I pretty much have nothing to add to this. It's just going to be the same as the other Shielded Soldier. I'm going to put that at A tier. The Battle Knight. This is the one I was talking about. It's an armored Hell Knight with an axe, and it adds a little bit more depth to its combat. It makes it a lot larger of a threat to deal with, and is a lot of fun to fight. I'm gonna put this at A tier. The Cyber Demon. Compared to Doom's previous installments, this one doesn't feel as threatening as it should. Therefore, I'm putting it at B tier. I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce this right. The Vagary? While I love that they're introducing some new demons, this one didn't really do it for me. I didn't really have, I love a challenge, but this one didn't really challenge me, it just annoyed me. Therefore, it gets C tier. The Arachnotron. I do like Eternals functionally better, but that's just because I adore the weak point system. This one is a lot of fun to eviscerate with the super shotgun, so we're gonna put it at B tier. The Revenant's redesign is absolutely badass. And in functionality, it's so different from its previous incarnations. I really like what they did with it. I'm gonna put that at A tier. The Whiplash is a bastard, and he goes to garbage. I hate him. He can fuck off. The Agadon Hunter. I really love this enemy. It is such a fun boss fight. Every single time I run into it, I kick its ass, and I love every second of it. It goes S tier. The Cacodemon. Completely unrecognizable and leans very heavily into the Lovecraft side of things. This is the most creative demon that they had that was from the Lovecraftian realm. Therefore, it goes to the S tier. The Komodo. It's not my favorite. I definitely like the Agadon Hunter more, but this is still a fun boss encounter to run into. We're gonna put him at A tier. The Cosmic Baron is basically just a Baron of Hell reskin, and I think it's kind of lazy, to be honest. But I don't know. This was somewhat of a miss design-wise for me. We're gonna put it at B tier. The Acolyte. This is another one where it's not really challenging. It's just annoying. And for being from the Lovecraftian realm, I get it. It has some tentacles or whatever, but it just, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. Goes to C tier. The Maker Drone. This is another comparison to Eternal because I love the weak point system, and specifically targeting it by the head made it a threat in the previous game, and in this it's just kind of regular fodder, so you just tear right through it. So it's a little uninspired. I like the design and all, but just didn't bring anything new to the table, so I'm gonna mark it at C tier. Now we get to the boss fights, and every single one is an S tier. I enjoyed every single boss fight in this game. Each of them were badass, cinematic, and were genuinely fun. Yes, they were challenging, but I never was really frustrated with it. Therefore, all three get an S tier.
The music here is something special, distinctly medieval, something completely new for the Doom franchise. Finishing move, the creators of this score did an amazing job. Featuring some double pedal kick drums, I even think I heard some bass slapping in there. While Doom Eternal in 2016 had maybe 5 or 6 tracks that really stood out and absolutely killed it, the rest were kind of whatever in my opinion. This score had me banging my head while I was ripping and tearing all throughout, truly worthy of adding to the library of Doom music. At times while you're playing, your gun kinda somehow syncs up with the music, almost making you feel like you're playing a rhythm game like Metal Hellsinger, which is another amazing game. I recommend checking it out. But it's just the flow of combat flowing perfectly with the music. Even though my current PC setup wouldn't allow me to enjoy the Dark Ages to its full potential graphically, I still appreciate all the details put into the game. The backdrops in Eternal were great, but the ones in the Dark Ages are something else. 90% of the time there's a grandiose battle taking place, a Titan demon and Atlan duking it out, or an Ava reference. While again, I can't give the best review of the graphics because of my current situation, I can still say that even on the lowest setting, this game still impressed me. Even the small details like skulls being ground up into the Ravager are outstanding. Each level had something beautiful to look at. Some definite standouts were the Zombie Slayer mission, and when you had to repair an Atlan that was broken down in hell. The Cosmic Realm was something completely new for the Doom universe and a welcome addition to it, including some very trippy sequences, but this leads me to our next section. My gripes. Starting with the Cosmic Realm. While it was a fantastic idea, the execution left a little more to be desired once you actually set foot in the realm. A lot of the maps you were in felt very samey. Nothing really stood out to me as far as the actual map design went. That being said, the backdrops were still breathtaking. The big, sprawling maps in the Sentinels world and Hell worked great, but here, I'm not sure what it is, they feel a lot more bare and empty. Next, we get to the collectibles. While I stand by what I said earlier, the toy collecting is great, but Eternal had a lot more to collect, which I don't understand the downgrade. It had the records and the cheat codes, which aren't present in the game at all. Would it make sense in a medieval setting? Of course not, but it could have been substituted with something else. And that leads to my final complaint. I love the new gameplay style. I adore it actually, more than Eternal, but the game in general just doesn't feel as polished and complete, if that makes sense. The main menu is bare bones and not offering any customization really. As of right now, the offerings for the skins are either locked behind a paywall for the coolest ones or tied to a broken system. Yes, I am looking at you, Twitch. Who knows though? Maybe one day with updates and DLC, it'll be less bare bones and appear maybe a little more finished. Adding some new earnable skins in the game that aren't tied to a California pizza shop or a over $2,000 Bethesda gear bundle. I can't say anything though. I have the one that was tied to a controller. It's arguably the best one. With Eternal's menu, you could customize the background, your Slayer, what podium he stood on, or you could put whatever demon you're using in the multiplayer. And I am glad that they cut the multiplayer and focus strictly on the campaign. Yeah, it's good. Watch my previous video to see my full thoughts on this beauty. I think it's very unfair to pin these games against each other and say which one's the best. Each one of these brings something fresh to the table, so I am marking all of these at a solid S tier. With each of these games bringing something fresh and new to the table, the team at id continue to outdo themselves with every game. They give me faith that single player isn't dead and still kicking and ripping and tearing. Go out there and get this game now if you haven't already. It's an absolute must play. This is up there with all the rest of id's most recent entries, even with my gripes. I only complain because I care. They don't get in my way of enjoying this masterpiece at all. Do you want more Doom content? Are you sick of it and ready for me to move on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next review.